Hello and welcome to another video on this channel. This video is part 2 of the little series I do about how to integrate a custom print shop into your homepage. And in today's video I'm going to go through the practical part, showing you how I integrated a print shop, giving you some tips. But if you haven't done so yet, watch the first video, because this is where I lay the foundation, all the things you need to consider to get started with e-commerce. So there are quite a few things you have to run through a checklist, which I share in that video. So watch that first. And now we're going to look at how I integrated the print shop on my homepage, which might give you some inspiration for whatever solution you want to do. So let's go. Many photographers that do self-hosting of their homepage use a WordPress-based theme for it. So WordPress is an open source solution you can use to create a blog, but not only a blog, it's actually a full-featured site where you can create custom pages, where you, with the right themes and plugins, can create galleries, all that stuff. And there's actually a lot of free plugins available, and if you just pay maybe $50, $60, you already get a good theme. If you invest a bit more, you get some proper plugins, so to really customize your homepage. So WordPress is a good place to start if you want to do hosting yourself but don't want to write any code. You will not get the 100% flexibility, because creating WordPress themes yourselves and writing plugins can be a bit tricky. So I've done all of this already, tested it. So my homepage is a mix of basic HTML site with JavaScript plus WordPress, and I've fully customized everything. And yeah, I know a bit of the problems you can have with WordPress and also without it, but I'd say it's a good solution to get started. And I wouldn't also shy away from investing a few bucks into a proper theme, because the free ones are customizable to a degree, but you'll end up having a page that looks like many others. So pay a bit for a proper theme that you can customize and create a proper branding for your homepage. So WordPress, you download it from this official page, currently version 6.2.2. Just take the latest one, and later, once you've installed it, you can also update it. To install WordPress, you need access to your hosting provider's web space, so you need to upload it and then make some setup and execute it. There are myriads of tutorials on this online, so you'll find your way around. This part is still pretty easy. If you bothered already with this, don't want to do the setup, then I'd rather head for a solution like Squarespace or one of the others. But this one here is still very basic. So get WordPress, find some theme, install the plugins you need, but also don't install too many plugins. So really drill down to the ones you need, because every plugin you add makes your website slower, and this can impact your SEO. Okay, so with WordPress, you can't yet sell prints, so you need an e-commerce solution for it. Good thing is there's another plugin which is open source. It's called WooCommerce. That's a very popular e-commerce plugin, and I've already installed it here on my site. If you haven't installed it, just have WordPress. You have this dashboard. Once you log in, you can go to plugins and add new. Once you get to this site, you just type up here WooCommerce, and you'll directly find WooCommerce and also a set of plugins you can use for WooCommerce. The first thing you need to do is install WooCommerce itself and activate it. I already have it, so I won't do again. Then you already see there are some payment gateways. This is what I talked about in the first video. One of them, for example, is Stripe, but you also have PayPal, which you see up here. It's actually not rated very high, but I use it without problems. So I think that's always the thing with plugins. If you have, for example, WooCommerce with some very customized theme, you sometimes have trouble with certain plugins. So keep things simple. As I said before, don't install too many plugins, just the ones you need. So you'll install WooCommerce, maybe Stripe Payment Gateway, or PayPal, or both. Now, once you have WooCommerce installed, there's actually a lot of options you have to go through. So it will appear here, and you can go to the WooCommerce settings. At first, there will be a wizard guiding you through the basic steps, but you really should go through all the settings you find here. Take your time and really fill in the information. You would have to do the same if you were using Squarespace, Shopify, or any other solution. So really take the time. For example, here's some store address, and you can specify which countries you want to sell to. For example, you can exclude a few because it might be too tricky to get the tax information for selling into those countries, so just leave them out. Better restrict the number. You can say to which countries you want to ship. For example, here I just have Europe, so United States I haven't included yet for shipping because of the high shipping costs. I still have to figure out a way for that. And then you make some other settings, currency for example. It's really most of it self-explanatory, and you also have here some additional info. Then you go to the products where you can set some units and also specify which page will be your shop page. I've set it up to products. Then you see here, it's not just those tabs up here. For many of the tabs, you also have those smaller tabs here. And you should also go through those. For example, I also sell my tutorials via this site, so I have downloadable products. So I might want to make some settings for those. For example, how the file name is handled, how the access is granted, and so on. Then for selling prints, very important, you have to make the shipping settings. And this is done by creating shipping zones. For example, here you see a lot of shipping zones. Many of those were created when I added Creative Hub to WooCommerce. So those were automatically created, but I also created some custom ones for WhiteWall. For example, I have WhiteWall Germany shipping zone, WhiteWall EU, UK, and EAA. And when you create those shipping zones, let's just head into the EU. You can select all the countries you want to ship to, and then you create a shipping method. One of those is flat rate. You can't really set individual prices depending on product here. This has to be done differently and it's more complicated. So the easiest way is to create flat rates for certain countries. For example, every product I sell inside the EU will be shipped via flat rate. It's also why you have to be careful which print provider you select. So check their shipping options, how expensive they are for different products you want to sell, and then find a way, some mean which you can use for the shipping. For example, for EU, I use 10 euros flat. For 10 euros, I can sell prints up to like 100 centimeters. And if I were to sell mounted prints, those would be more expensive, but I'd still keep the rate because I'd then just rather pay a few bucks of the shipping myself, just to make it easy also for the customer. A nice thing you can also do with WooCommerce, you can set free shipping. Let me show you. You can, for example, say once a customer put more than 250 euros of worth into the cart, then the shipping will be free. So that's a nice option in WooCommerce. And yeah, you would create different shipping zones and they will then automatically be selectable when you create your products. And a customer heads to the products, selects it, puts it into the cart, goes to order, and then he will have the shipping information. Payments also important. Here is where you select the payment gateway. I've selected PayPal down here, which is the only one I have active. You could also have direct bank transfer, cash money delivery, and also WooCommerce also offers some payment gateway where you need to create an account. Accounts and privacy is a setting which I think is very important. For example, I allow customers place orders without an account because I don't allow accounts. So I haven't yet decided if I will do so in the future. It depends on how many sales I make, but for now I think it's easier in terms of handling also the data and everything to not have user accounts. So a user goes to my page, puts something into the cart, fills in his data and purchases something, but a user won't get an account. So that's easier if you have many sales and many recurring sales to the same user, the same customer. You might want to activate accounts here and allow the user to manage his or her orders. This is important, the emails. You have to test this if this really works. For example, there are a few emails you want to send to yourself, so you get information if there's an order to be made, because then you go in here and might have to pass the order to your print provider, and there are order emails which go to the customer, and you can manage those, specify those. Really test it, because you need an SMTP email client that can forward those. Typically, when you have self-hosted service, this should work out of the box via the WordPress included send mail. But for me, it didn't, so I had to install an additional plugin, which I have down here, WP Mail SMTP. This one's free, and you can set it up with a custom SMTP mail client. For example, I then use the one which I get from Ionos, and this makes sure that the emails are sent out. So let's have a quick look at advanced. This is something you typically shouldn't have to do too much other than here, this one. You have to set the terms and conditions page. So pages are created up here. This is where you would create a page for the terms, fill in the terms, and then select it here. Same, those checkout card, those are pre-filled already. So typically if you go to the pages here, those pages are already created by WooCommerce, and some of them you have to fill yourself. For example, a privacy policy, returns policy, terms. And you can also create additional pages for your homepage here, which don't need to be shop specific or WooCommerce specific. So there are many tutorials out there. Take your time, but with WooCommerce you really get a very powerful e-commerce solution. And the best thing is, feature-wise, this is really giving you nearly as many options as something like you'd get from Squarespace, or even more. Actually, I don't have Squarespace, so I couldn't compare, but it doesn't cost anything. So you're still just paying the fee for the web hosting. So we're still at this $6 or $8 a month. You already have an e-commerce page. With WooCommerce, you have to be a bit careful when selecting the themes. So down here, this is the themes section, and there are usually a few themes already installed. When you install WordPress 2020, 2021, then with WooCommerce comes this Storefront. But yeah, as I said, those are very generic and you want to have a very custom experience. I have my own MeBrite Photo Woo, which I've created myself. It's not available online, so I've written this code just to be used with my homepage. But actually you can add new themes, and there are many places where you can buy themes online. You just Google WooCommerce theme or WooCommerce photography theme, and between $50 or $150 in that range, I think you get a lot of selection here. And always remember, this is a one-time investment versus always paying monthly rates that are much higher with the platforms. So invest in a good theme, one with good ratings, which can be customized very well, and then you are set for the long term. Now, once you have everything set up, what you need to do is test everything. So you best go to your products, and you can add a new product, which you just set like $1, and then you make some test purchase where you do everything including the payment. So that's important. Then you pay basically yourself this $1 minus the fee that PayPal takes or Stripe takes. You see the emails that go to you as the seller and also the customer emails. So really test the complete experience. Also, when you fulfill an order, you might have to go into the order section of WooCommerce, which you find here, and then change the state of the order, so additional emails get sent out to the buyer. So you can really test everything, and you don't need to create an expensive product, but create one where you actually have to pay at least $1 or something, so you really can test the whole system. Now, we already talked about theming. One important thing I want to show you to make your store look more professional. Let's have a look at my store. Not saying that it's professional looking, I just put everything together myself the way I like it, the way I think it looks professional for me, but other people might think differently, so that's no problem. But one thing you can do, let's for example go here to the bridal whale falls print. So you add the image, click on it, make it big, and then also create a mock-up. This is what you see in many other shops, and such mock-ups, creating those is actually pretty easy, and I want to show you how to do this. There's a site called FreePic that sells those mockups and many other pictures, and it's subscription based, so for around $20 a month you can get access to all their images. Now you might say, okay, $20 a month, add this on top of the web hosting or whatever I'm paying, that's quite a lot, and you're right, but you don't need this as a continuous subscription. My advice would be get a subscription for a month that allows you to download the images as a premium license, and you get a license file. So even after you cancel your subscription, you can still use those images. And how do you find those? You insert wall art mockup, for example. At least this is how I found everything. And then you select you just want the PSD files. And then you just browse the library and take your time. You see here's like 200 pages. Let's just go to some page. You can also filter. You want horizontal images. You might want a certain color, for example, something like this. And then you just browse it, look for a mockup that might fit your style of shop. And this actually takes some time, so I've downloaded maybe 20 already, but I'm still not through, so I still need to find a few more. And let's just say I'd select this one, and you go to download, and here you get the PSD file. Once you've downloaded, what you can then also do, you go to your page here, go to downloads, and there's a list of all the downloads, and that's important, you can download the license file. Now I want to show you how you now create a mockup. So let's assume I want to create a new product. So what I do, I go to products and I want to create a new print product. What I typically do, since those are set up, I go to duplicate, because then all the settings are copied, and I want to create a product for Desert Nights. That's one of my images. Desert Nights, fine art print. I remove this copy. This text here needs to be exchanged, and I actually use ChatGPT to give me a first draft. Then I bring this draft of 150 words over to Grammarly. There I refine it, also take out many adjectives, because typically what ChatGPT gives you, you should not use as is on your homepage, but it gives you a good overview, so some facts, some informations you can use and then refine it in Grammarly. Finally, also add some personal note, maybe how you took the image. So this goes here. Then down here you see the settings that were taken over, including shipping, attributes, material size, all this just taken over. And here's already the images which I need to exchange now. So let's first change this image. So I will take the Desert Nights photo, set as the product image. And now I also have to remove the product gallery and create another one. So here we are on Bridge, and we're gonna look through the different PSD files I've already downloaded and try to find one which we're gonna use for the Desert Nights photo. Desert Night photo is pretty dark, so this surrounding might work. I'm gonna open this up in Photoshop, and then I'm gonna show you what you can do, how those PSD files are organized. So typically you have some effects, you have the background, and here the mock designs. This group, nearly in all the files I've opened so far, will always have such a thing here, such a layer, edit design here, and it's actually a smart layer. So you just double click, and now you drag the photo you want to be placed in here, position it. So this here is actually more 16:9. The original photo is 3:2, but I think it still looks good, so I want to put it like this. Press enter. Now I just close the smart object and press save, and here you already have it. Now the effects you can vary them, and now I just resize it. I use 1600 pixels. This is the web sharpener by Andreas Resch, which I also use in my tutorials. Just creating the proper size I want in my shop. Now I just save it as web. I actually just need to use like 50% or 55, so I want to keep this around 200 to 300K, not too big. Now we're gonna head back to WooCommerce and add the image. Need to first upload it and then add to the gallery. And now if we go to preview, you see that here's the original image and here's the mock-up. So it looks pretty nice, and this makes your shop look a bit more professional and also create a bit more interest for the potential customer if he sees how such an image could look inside a real room environment. I now also fill in the other information and then publish the product. And the descriptions are actually very important for SEO, so that's why you should also take time for it. Okay, that's it for part 2 of how to sell prints online. So I hope you found this interesting. If so, don't forget, leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos. So see you.